why would Dorit want to insert herself in that moment? To me, it's just another stretch by Kyle, but it also is like pretty clear that the Fox Force 5 is done. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks, breaking down the latest in reality TV and pop culture. Welcome back to life, back to reality, and boy, oh boy, has been a cold, hard slap in the face. You know, Thanksgiving is such a great holiday. You just get to wear leggings and oversized sweaters and eat pumpkin pie. And like I did the shotgun drizzle of whipped cream, in my mouth on Thursday. So that was fun to then just come back to the real world. To the real world with real responsibilities. And, you spend 4 days just wiping the credit card left and right, not giving a care in the world about how much money you're spending because it's on sale. Let me just tell you, the reality really slapped us here in the face here in Northeast Ohio, because I don't know if you've been following along on my Instagram stories, but we got pumped with snow. I have not left my house since Sunday. That's a lie. I left one time to go to the grocery store because all we had was 6 eggs. And I was like, we're not going to survive if we only have 6 eggs in the house. And thankfully, my grocery store is just right around the corner. But I'm not lying to you when I say it snowed for 3 days straight. When I say I couldn't get out of my front door, couldn't get out of my back door, couldn't get out of my garage, nothing. We got about 2 feet. My parents got about 3 feet. And so, we were just like living in the apocalypse, and I was worried about my 6 eggs. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how long I was going to be stuck. But, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I was sitting there thinking, I'm just grateful to be in a warm house, roof over my head. I mean, God forbid, the roof might cave in based on how much snow's sitting on top of it right now. But, as of right now, we're good. Now, just in time for them to clear it up, it's supposed to happen again this evening into Friday. So send some T's and P's that it's not as bad as it was before, that the power doesn't go out because, the power also went out a little bit. Thankfully, it came back. But it's just scary. I feel like your life can go from shotgunning whipped cream in your mouth to being afraid that you might die of hypothermia in your house when a snowstorm hits. Life comes at you fast. So I'm just grateful that it got all squared away and that we're doing all right. To also talk about this in the top of the show rant, I want to tell you a little bit of housekeeping. It's been a while since we've done some housekeeping. I dropped new merch. It's called the Leave Me Alone line because that's what I was feeling. David was like, Morgan, you need a mug. You need a mug on the merch shop. What do you want it to say? And I said, leave me alone, because that's how I feel, especially when I'm drinking coffee in the morning. Do not talk to me until that cup is empty. So if you're like me and you want to send like a subliminal message to your husband in the morning, not to talk to you until after you finish that coffee, the Leave Me Alone mug. We have Leave Me Alone dad hats available at morganptalks.com. Now, if you're a Patreon member, you get the discount code. The Lilas Girlies, you get 20% off, so make sure you're checking the discount and free shipping. And then if you are on the Bravo or the Bachelor or the Survivor tier, you're getting 15% off this week, so make sure you check out the merch shop. It's very cute. Just saying. morganptalks.com. Let's get into it. Pop 3, biggest celebrity headlines of the week. Sabrina Carpenter and Barry Keoghan have split and are on a break. Eye roll, right? Eye roll. Like, no shade. Okay, Sabrina Carpenter's 25 and Barry Keoghan is 32. I can let it slide for a 25-year-old. If you're 32 years old and you're still going on a break, we need to do some self-evaluating. We need to really get to the root of what is causing this break, because I just don't feel like breaks should happen at age 32. But a source told People that the pair have ended their romantic relationship for now. They've been dating for about a year. They said they're both young and career focused, so they've decided to take a break. Now, there's also been all kinds of speculatory rumors that these two are a PR couple. You know, they started dating in December of last year. You can remember Saltburn was such a big hit early on in the year. Sabrina Carpenter, this has really been her year. I mean, she is the it girl of 2024, in my personal opinion. I don't know if I believe that they were a PR couple. I'm just naive, and I think that those things don't happen. I know that they do, but I just want to believe that they don't. But they're very like publicly, or were very publicly like supportive of each other and always around. And I just feel like if you're contractually obligated, you wouldn't be like doing that much, you know? And also, let's just say that it was a PR relationship. Who would not fall in love with Sabrina Carpenter? Like, if you're Barry Keoghan, you just hit the PR jackpot in signing a contract, you know, allegedly, to date Sabrina Carpenter, because even if it started as sign on the dotted line, he was in love before the ink was dry. Look at her. Look at her. Listen to Short and Sweet. Are you kidding me? Anytime that I'm like feeling like a I don't know. I don't know why I was going to say anytime I'm feeling like a muffin. I think that's what I am feeling right now. A little dry, a little top heavy. You know, my face is a little bit swollen. So I don't know. Muffin was just the first word that came to mind. But anyhow, you know, sometimes at age 31, you need to get your mojo up a little bit. You know, I live in Northeast Ohio. I haven't seen the sun in 17 days. I'm like as pale as when I came out of the womb. So sometimes when I feel like I need to get my mojo up and I need to, you know, remind myself who I am, I turn on Sabrina Carpenter Espresso. You know, I just do. It helps me feel better about myself. If I'm wanting to spruce things up with my husband because I'm a little lazy, I turn on Bedchem because that's just the way that she helps me live my life. So I'm feeling any guy that is with Sabrina Carpenter is lucky, thinking his lucky stars to have her. So I don't believe that it was PR because he would fall in love with her immediately. But anyways, they seem to have had like a little bit of an on again, off again relationship. You know, there's always whispers in the blind item community. And you know, she did write a song, Please, Please, Please Don't Embarrass Me, Barry. And what is interesting is like comparing the past relationships to what is out there. Cause you know me, I'm a big I don't hardly ever believe the blind item community just because it's so hard to fact check. You know, here I am, ABC News of the pop culture world. But anyways, you know, he did have this relationship with a woman by the name of Allison Sandro. Now they weren't married. That's kind of been a misconception, but they do have a son together. And she was not a public person. She was a Scottish dentist and orthopedic therapist, which like absolutely no shade because we need our dentists and our orthopedic therapists. But just imagine like it's a normal job, you know, it's a honorable job. They work hard and they're scrubs. And then your ex starts dating Sabrina Carpenter. Like it's gotta be a little jarring. But anyways, they split back in July of 2023. And when rumors came out then, it was that Barry started partying because he was starting to get more successful in Hollywood. And in the blind item community, that's kind of the narrative too, that he's partying and that's why she wrote this song, Please, Please, Please Don't Embarrass Me, you know, all of these things. So it coincides. I mean, like I said, in the year 2025, we're not taking breaks with dudes. And if he suggests one, dump him. All right. Speaking of dumping people, Tyler Cameron might be next because Tyler Cameron is in hot water after leaking text messages between him and his girlfriend to his 2.2 million Instagram followers, okay? And not just text messages of them having an argument and him kind of throwing her under the bus, honestly. So this happened last week. He posted this text thread between him and his girlfriend, Tate Madden, which they've been dating for a while. We knew, but they hadn't confirmed until recently. Don't know much about her. She's not in the public eye, but she does seem very cute and very fun. And just basing off her Instagram, I can see why he's drawn to her. She seems very bubbly, very happy-go-lucky. I mean, obviously she's beautiful, model. Tyler Cameron only dates models. Like, there's nothing controversial about that. But Tyler posted this text thread to his Instagram story. It says, the caption at the top says, "Don't go on a sweet treat run without your girlfriend, ... lesson learned." Tyler texts Tate and says, "Now you're mad again?" She texts him back and says, "I just don't understand why anything fun you do, you don't want to do with me. We'll go to Riverside. Have a fun night." He says to her, "We're getting ice cream. Are you kidding me? This is a fun moment." And then he says, "Don't go on a sweet treat without your girlfriend. Lesson learned." And I'm just like, oh, I'm not supposed to be reading this. This is a private conversation. I'm not supposed to know that Tate's mad about not getting a mint chocolate chip double scoop on a random Tuesday night. He posted a selfie the next morning showing him sleeping on the couch, and the caption said, "Lesson learned." Let me tell you, if David Preston ever did this to me, he would be sleeping in the 2 feet of snow that is outside. I would make him a bed of icicles that are hanging off the top of my roof. And for a blanket, it would be the drenched, soaked doormat that I have that says, "Come in and cozy up," on the front of my doorstep right now. That's where he would be. He wouldn't be in the doghouse. He would be in an igloo in the Arctic tundra, never to be seen again, especially if he did this early in our relationship. We're married now, so maybe I could let it slide if he was being a doofus for 5 seconds. But early on in the relationship, a year in, nope. I would be getting a year supply of Baskin Robbins, and I would not let him get any. I would buy so much ice cream, stock the freezer with it, eat it every single night, and not ever offer him one scoop of it. That's how petty I would be. What on earth are you thinking, Tyler Cameron, to post this on your Instagram story with 2.2 million followers? I mean, the only thing I can think is that we're being punked. And this is just an orchestrated scandal. At his girlfriend's expense? I think not. I mean, like, I just don't understand. What makes you sit down and think, yeah, posting this to my 2.2 million Instagram followers is going to be so funny and cute, and she's not going to be mad at all. If she's mad at you for going to get ice cream, this is not going to help the situation. I'm just banking on the fact that it was some sick and twisted joke, and that Tate Madden got 18 scoops of Rocky Road ice cream that night, and the joke's on us. That's what I'm praying. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm believing. That's what I'm manifesting, because if not, death to Tyler Cameron. Just kidding. All right, last but certainly not least, Nikki Garcia is breaking her silence over her divorce from Artem Chigvintsev. Going to do a trigger warning. We are going to talk about domestic violence, not in detail because we've already done that. You guys already know we've reported it. If you haven't heard that, go back and listen to some of the previous episodes that we've talked about this, but we are going to talk about this situation. So Nikki returned to her podcast this week that she does with her sister, Bree, to talk about her divorce from former Dancing with the Stars pro Artem Chigvintsev. If you aren't familiar with this couple, Nikki Garcia, formerly Nikki Bella, was a WWE wrestler, went on to be on a few reality shows, Total Divas, which was about WWE women wrestlers. And then they got a spinoff, Total Bellas, which was about the Bella twins. She dated John Cena for a long time. They ended up going their separate ways because he did not want to get married and he did not want to have kids. And Nikki wanted both those things. After that, Nikki went on Dancing with the Stars. Artem was her partner, and the rest was history, right? So as I've told you, they had some sort of dispute just days after their 2-year wedding anniversary in Napa Valley, California, that resulted in Artem getting arrested for domestic violence. Since then, the case has been dropped. They were supposed to go to court early on in December, but about 2 weeks ago, we got this statement. Nikki and Artem have settled their divorce and will not be going to court. both parties decided to drop their domestic violence restraining orders against each other in an effort to move on with their lives and effectively co-parent their son. So Nikki hasn't said anything publicly until now. She came back on the podcast, The Nikki and Bree Show, and here are some of the things that she said. She said, "You dream of having this family and you have this incredible love, and it just goes the other way. You go from having a great love story to having a terrible one and never saw any of it coming, as far as what the ending would be. So it's just been a struggle." She said she's lost her appetite. She's cried a lot. And she said, "I also stepped up and made sure everything was okay for Mateo," which is their 4-year-old son. She says, "It's just been, I don't even really know what the words to use," but she did use the word heartbreaking and shocking. Then she says, "The one thing I have realized disconnecting from the world, it's when you know the truth, nothing else matters. So when some of you would come to me," talking to her sister, "so when some of you could come to me and tell me what people were saying or what was out there, it would affect me in some way. But because I know the truth and I actually lived it, it didn't have a big effect on me," which is an interesting concept. And I guess it's something that I do struggle with, being in this line of work, is when personal situations like this happen, how do you approach it? You don't want to be inconsiderate because it is a private matter, but it's public anyway. So what are you going to do? I think, her saying that it did bother her, but it didn't bother her as much because she knows the truth. Um, it's a bold statement, especially because she's saying a lot without saying anything at all, because there were a lot of dueling headlines about what happened between the two of them. There's two sides to every story. I mean, probably they're both telling their truth, and the real truth is somewhere in the middle. Um, but she's sticking to it, saying, "I know what happened and I'm not going to let it affect me because I know that." Yeah, it's sad. And I think, her kind of reiterating this goes to show, because we were all shocked too, and we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but we just never would have expected something like this. So for her to say, "We did have an incredible love story and it went completely south and none of us saw this coming." I think, I don't know. I mean, it just goes to show how shocked everybody was about this. And I hope the best for them moving forward, that they can get in a healthy co parenting relationship. I believe she did say that she hopes that they can be great friends one day. So we'll see, and we will leave it there. All right, let's get into this week's deep dive. Even though I'm just going to be completely honest with you, I don't know if you can tell, I have the stuffy nose chronicles right now, where one side of your face you can't feel or, get oxygen out of. But then as soon as you turn your head the other direction, it's like in the other nostril that's happening. Also, my hair is driving me crazy. Lord Farquaad is coming out to play at this particular moment in time. So I'm a little distracted, but I'm going to try to focus because we're going to talk about what is really going on with Dorit and Kyle right now on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. We are 3 episodes in, and the main points of contention center around Dorit and Kyle, whether it be with their separations with their husbands or with the friendship itself. And I feel like after watching this last week's episode and going back and looking at when did all of this happen, it kind of helped me put some of the puzzle pieces together. And I'm going to tell you my theory about what I really think is going on with Kyle and Dorit. So, the reason itself on the show is a little bit confusing. People keep categorizing it as death by 1,000 paper cuts. Little thing here, little thing there, and it's a lot. So, based on the examples of what they're citing on the show, I'm going to kind of run through the timeline and give some more context as to why it may or may not be a big deal that would lead to them having this huge falling out. So, it really starts or picks up speed at the season 12 reunion, which was filmed in 2022. This was the first incident. This is when Kathy and Kyle were really going through a hard time in their relationship, and Dorit kind of inserted her opinion at the reunion, and Kyle didn't like that. That was filmed on Friday, September 7th of 2022. Dorit says, "Kyle iced me out after that moment for about 6 months." Which doesn't take us to BravoCon of 2023, but the next instance is at BravoCon. But there is a couple month period between that 6-month ice out and BravoCon. BravoCon was November 3rd through the 5th of 2023. So a little over a year later, this is where we get the rank the Richards sisters moment, which all of us are looking at that moment and we're rolling our eyes. We're saying, are you serious, Kyle? That is what you're going to be mad at all the time you spent in Beverly Hills on this show, doing Watch What Happens Live, doing Bravo cons. That is what you are going to get mad at. But when you think about the situation before that, the situation that first started to really unravel things, and that is when you look at that moment in conjunction with what happened at the reunion and Dorit saying, Kyle, I think Kathy wants you to whatever. I feel like, okay, that's 2 times kind of back to back that Dorit hasn't adamantly defended Kyle. Maybe something that Kyle expected from her. I don't know. But this is also the same time that Kyle says, Dorit, you didn't stand up for Teddy when that viewer said something really rude about Teddy. It's just so ridiculous. It's like, what? The question was asked to Kyle. The question was not asked to Dorit. I mean, Dorit gets in trouble for talking too much as it is. So, like, what did Kyle want her to do? Interrupt and be like, no. I'm going to let you finish, but you need to shut up about Teddy? Like, no, she wasn't going to do that. However, Kyle says it reveals an underlying issue. And that is the fact that I think, Dorit, you care more about public opinion than sticking up for your friends. And that leads to a really big, like, brawl between the two of them in this last episode. Dorit quickly is like, no, Kyle, I don't care what the public opinion is. You care what the public opinion is. That's you, honey. And they really go back and forth about who, essentially is in the comments section. Like I said, there's something deeper going on here. And I think the sense is that between the friends, that one cares more about the show than their friendships. Who cares more about the public opinion? Who cares more about the show? Is it Kyle? Is it Dorit? And how is that affecting their friendship? I've also heard that one of the reasons for Dorit and PK's separation is because of the show, and that Dorit and her desire to be on it at all costs is causing some issues there. So while I don't agree with Kyle, I think there is that deeper underlying issue that maybe they're not allowed to talk about or they don't want to talk about, but I think it's definitely there. One thing is certain in Beverly Hills, and that is a Fox Force 5 done. Done and dusted. And honestly, I think we can thank Kathy Hilton for that. I will explain why. But remember those 5? Thick as thieves, never wanting to turn on each other, never wanting to do anything to hurt each other's feelings. It was Teddy, Kyle, Dorit, Lisa Rinna, and Erica Jane. So it started to dissipate a little when Teddy was no longer on the show, but as we have seen from these past couple episodes, Teddy is very much so still involved and they still want people to be sticking up for Teddy in public settings. However, the first big wedge in the Fox Force 5 came with Lisa Rinna and Erica Jane and Kathy Hilton, right? Who was leaking bad information about Kathy Hilton the very first season that she came on the show. A lot of people thought that it was Lisa Rinna. So then, and subsequently Erica Jane, right? Because they were kind of in cahoots. We said bye to Lisa Rinna on the show. Erica was able to kind of smooth over her relationship with Kathy. But now, again, this wedge between Dorit and Kyle started with Kathy, started at that 2022 Beverly Hills reunion where Dorit inserts her opinion about what is going on between Kyle and Kathy. And then it comes full circle this past year at BravoCon when Dorit won't stick up for Teddy, right? But it's like, why would Dorit want to insert herself in that moment? To me, it's just another stretch by Kyle, but it also is like pretty clear that the Fox Force 5 is done. Thank you, Kathy Hilton. So next in the string of paper cuts, Dorit says she feels replaced by Morgan Wade. She said this on Watch What Happens Live in December of 2023. And this is where things start to kind of pick up the pace a little bit. So that was in December. January 9th is when Kyle goes on the Amazon Live and says that Dorit exaggerated their relationship, their friendship, that they've only been on one trip together, which is just a bit contradictory. I mean, if the friendship is exaggerated, then why get upset when Dorit jokingly wouldn't rank the Richards sisters? I feel like a lot of us are feeling this way, that nothing is really making sense with Kyle and that she is kind of just grabbing at straws. Which, speaking of straws, that leads us to the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back, the reunion text message. So the text message was sent the night before the reunion, but Kyle didn't realize that it was shared by Dorit on camera until the reunion aired, which was February 28th. And then they started filming in May of 2024, so not long after she watched that reunion, they started filming again. So, when you look at it and you realize that they hadn't been talking, to me, sending a novel the night before the reunion, pretty much saying, keep your mouth shut, is a bit manipulative, right? How are you not going to talk to somebody for so long, secretly be mad at them for a number of different reasons, and then send them a novel about how much you love them and to keep things quiet? However, this brings back my theory that it could be about Dorit caring more about the show and being on the show at what cost, right? Because by Dorit sharing that text message, I kind of feel like Kyle was Lisa Vanderpump triggered. I feel like in the text message, she said, I don't want to lose another friend because of the show, which is what happened with her very close friendship with Lisa Vanderpump. And even though even though Kyle says this in the text message to Dorit, what does Dorit do? She turns around and she reads it on camera. Do you get what I'm saying? So when Kyle sees that, and all of these other things started to, kind of rise up, her feelings of Dorit wanting to go along with popular opinion and whatever. And now she's read a text message on camera. And she's even said, that's not the Dorit that I thought I knew. That's not the Dorit that I was friends with. So I really think that that is the belly of the beast, right? Is that they're both looking at this from a perspective of, they're throwing my friendship under the bus to be on the show. And in Kyle's instance, she's done this before. She doesn't want to do it again. Now, what's also interesting to me about this feud between Kyle and Dorit is that, in Housewives history, Kyle has had issues with other people, but they've never been main cast members on the show, with the exception of her sister, Kim. I mean, we all saw how that went down. But a lot of her storylines had to deal with her relationship with Kathy, which, at the beginning of those types of feuds, Kathy was not on the show at all. So we only saw Kyle's point of view. Then Kathy comes on, in a friend of role, and we're still not really getting an equal playing field. Even with Mauricio, he's not a full-time cast member, so we're only getting Kyle's side of the story there. What's interesting is that we're seeing both sides in a full capacity. And it's really making it, in my opinion, kind of easy to call out some of the hypocrisy of it, and I'm not saying that Dorit is 100% right. I mean, at this moment, I do side more with Dorit. I just think it's unfair of Kyle to come from the vantage point of, I didn't do anything to Dorit. I did nothing to her. Well, that's not true, because obviously you have had these feelings for over 2 years. This started back in 2022 at that reunion. So you can't say that you did nothing to Dorit because you didn't talk to her about these little things sooner. It has now boiled up, and that in itself is doing something. Kyle could say, I didn't come to you when I was feeling this way, and it has led to resentment, which is why I don't have a problem saying that our friendship was exaggerated by you. But she's not doing that. She's just not really just taking any accountability. Now, I can't even really think if Dorit is taking any accountability for things that she's done either. But to me, I don't know. I just don't see as big of an issue with it. I don't see as big of an issue with Dorit ranking the Richards sisters or saying she feels replaced by Morgan Wade. Like, To me, she's just doing her job. But anyways, the other points of contention are with Kyle and Mauricio. Mauricio has moved out, signed a 6-month lease, bought real furniture himself with his own dollars and didn't have it staged. And that has really thrown Kyle for a loop. I don't know. I don't think that Kyle and Mauricio are going to get back together. I mean, I would like them to, just because I root for them. They're a cute family. I like them together. Um, but I also just think it's kind of naive to think that he's like skiing down the slopes of Aspen with models and towels. Like, if I were Kyle, I'd be like, never again. Never again will I be with you, but that's it. And then we have Dorit and PK, which also is weird to me. He went out and bought an apartment, didn't tell Dorit about it. And I can't remember specifically, but there was a reason why, Dorit was out of town, and there was a reason why PK couldn't stay in the house or wouldn't stay in the house to watch the kids. And I'm just like, this is weird. This is weird. If that's the case and he wouldn't come watch his kids, it kind of feels like he's running away from his responsibilities. I don't know. Anywho, that's how I feel about that. Let's move on to final thoughts. Southern Charm returns this week. If you haven't watched the first episode yet, if you're listening on Thursday or if you're listening later, basically here's everything that you need to know coming into season 10. We are coming off the heels of a dramatic season 9 with this big love triangle between Shep's ex-girlfriend Taylor, Austin, and Olivia. Olivia will not be back for season 10, which is surprising. She was a big contributor to the plot last year in this love triangle with Taylor and Austin. But from what I've gathered, interviews I've listened to her, she said, I'm dating a new guy. He lives in Dallas. I'm back and forth a lot. I think that kind of sent a message to them that I wasn't in Charleston that much, even though that's not the case. I am in Charleston. But they just thought my life was going a different route, that I shouldn't be involved. So JT seems to be villainous. I mean, he's already announced his resignation from the show before it even starts airing. So I'm sure we are in for a doozy with that. He said he didn't finish his green screen interviews. He wants nothing to do with the show. In a preview, we saw him give Miss Patricia a cane as a gift, which is highly offensive. Madison has been pretty vocal about the fact that she's not happy with JT, insinuating that he's making things up about her marriage. In the trailer, it seems as though JT is into Venita, but that also has kind of blown up in flames. When we saw the trailer and we saw JT and Venita and their potential love connection, we were like, no, not happening. Seems fake to me. That's what I thought, right? The internet conversation that followed was also shocked, but it also included women coming out of the woodwork in the comment section saying that he was saying the same thing to them and all these other weird things. So Venita has gone on a couple podcasts this week saying, I got played by JT, so we'll see how that plays out on the show. Austin does have a new girlfriend. Has had a new girlfriend for a while, but he's kept it on the down low publicly. Her name is Audrey. It is long distance, and I do believe we will see some of her on the show. Now, the boys' relationship, the three boys, the three best housewives on Bravo, Shep, Austin, and Craig, their relationship has been rocky for a couple seasons, and it's been Craig kind of pulling away from Austin and Shep. Now, depending on what season you go back and watch, it will say a different answer. We saw in the trailer and a couple seasons ago, it was, the business. The business is thriving. He's super busy. He's putting all of his energy into that. We're not seeing him as much. But in the trailer, we hear Austin say, Craig thinks he can't hold a Bud Light in his hand. Otherwise, his business is going to get canceled. Then you add Paige, right? They want to attribute this change in Craig to Paige, which it's like, yes. When you get in a healthy and committed relationship, you change. I know they're not married, but when you get married, you change. You're not calling up your boys every, day of the week that ends with day to go to the bar until 3:00 in the morning. You are doing other things. You're settling down. Obviously, Shep has a complicated relationship with that type of idea because he's an infamous bachelor party guy, and Austin, who is in this long distance relationship, still might have some free time to want to go hang out with the boys, right? So we'll kind of see that continue. I'm interested to see where Shep is in his sobriety journey. At the end of last season at the reunion, he talked about him being out of control at BravoCon, which he totally was. You guys, I had a run-in with Shep at BravoCon. I think I've told this story on the podcast before, but Shep had talked about last season going to South Africa and all these things. So David was with me in this like VIP room, and which like the VIP room just means you sold your soul for a ticket. Not really, people. I'm not in the Illuminati, but did have to put on the credit card. Anyways, so Shep's walking by and David, a South African, is like, hey, like I saw you went to South Africa. That's so cool. I'm from there. Where'd you go? And they like got in this conversation, but Shep was tanked. I mean, his eyes were bloodshot. He was 2 inches away from David's face when I was introduced to him. Like he was so close to my face and so belligerent that like a little piece of spit came out and hit me, like that level of intoxicated. So, and there were lots of stories like that at BravoCon, and he said that was kind of a wake-up call. So we'll see where that has led him, if he's still, on the path to sobriety, what that looks like for him. But Taylor Ann Green is in a new relationship. She's officially moved on from Shep, but I think one of the newbies has history not only with Shep, but also her new boyfriend. The newbies this season are Molly O'Connell, Ryan Albert. Don't know anything about the two of them, but we do know about Sally Carson, who is a newbie too. We've seen her on The Bachelor, Bachelor in Paradise, and Southern Hospitality. I'm like, dang, this girl is booked and busy. Every reality TV show that she wants to be on, she is on. You can remember she was on The Bachelor. She was going to get a rose. She was on Clayton season. She was going to get a rose, but she, I believe, was engaged before, broke it off, and then went on The Bachelor, and she was still struggling, so she left. Then she was invited to Bachelor in Paradise, and you guys remember Sally's suitcase? She didn't get on the plane. They sent her a suitcase. It was this whole shtick. Then she was on Southern Hospitality trying to date Joe Bradley, and then ended up dating Joe Bradley's roommate, I think, who is now Taylor Ann Green's boyfriend. Make sense? So it's going to be good. I love Southern Charm. I'm excited that it's back. Like I said, Shep, Austin, and Craig, best housewives on television. I could watch them giggle and gossip all the live long day. So have a fantastic rest of your week, guys. Leave a review. A little 5-star boop boop. A little love you like a sis. Please, for the love of God, I want to get to a certain number, and I'm nowhere close to it. And I know how many people listen to this podcast. So let's do it. Let's leave a review. It's the holiday season after all. Buy a mug that says, "Leave me alone." Yes, join the Patreon, get 20% off all the things. Patreon.com/Morgan's Pop Talks. If you want the merch, it's morganptalks.com. All of the links are in the show notes below. If not, pray that I don't get another bamboozle snow dump to where I can't leave my house. I have more than eggs this time. Praise Jesus. But anywho, need the T's and P's. And I'll see you later, okay? Love you like a sis. Bye.